Hello and welcome to Nimasa This Week. My name is Frank Edo. This program is a weekly compendium of the goings-on of the maritime industry in Nigeria and, of course, globally. Well, it's almost a week where the stay-home order was instituted by the federal and state governments of a few states. And we are sitting at home and we are hoping that you are adhering to the precautions. We want to curtail the spread of the pandemic, so please wash your hands. Social distancing still maintained. And after the fortnight of us staying at home, we'll now see the extent to which it has worked. But for now, please adhere to instructions. Tonight on the program, we're going to talk about a lot of things. Well, in particular, the DG Nimasa and his team have an advice for us. How are they coping during this season of COVID-19? Well, these and many more coming up on Nimasa This Week. Welcome.
Introducing the new face of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, Nimasa. We are charting the direction for our maritime and regulating the industry for a better, bigger, and more economically stable Nigeria. Evolved to serve you better. We are Nimasa. New face, rejuvenated service. Nimasa, changing the tides in your favor.
Now, everybody's talking about COVID-19, and if you look at the maritime industry, there's a little scourge that is spreading and deteriorating rapidly the maritime industry. I'm talking about a process called biofouling. Now, don't worry about the big word. It's a term for the accumulation of little plants, animals, microorganisms like algae, and of course barnacles that will infringe on the functionality of maritime infrastructure. It is building, spreading across continents, and affecting biodiversity and the economy. Well, let's see.
Wakame is an edible seaweed. Yet, it's been identified among the most invasive aquatic species on our planet. In one European country, the power generation industry spends more than $10 million annually trying to stop the Australian tubeworm clogging up cooling water intakes. These are just two examples of an insidious problem that's occurring all over the world. Invasive aquatic species introduced by biofouling. But how does it happen? When surfaces and structures are exposed to the sea, aquatic organisms, some of them invasive, can build up rapidly. Left untreated, they can have severe consequences. Once introduced, invasive aquatic species are almost impossible to eradicate, and they can pose a major threat to biodiversity and destroy healthy marine ecosystems. They can damage human health and have a negative effect on tourism. And dealing with invasive species can cost huge sums of money. A range of key maritime sectors and activities, including shipping, oil and gas, renewable ocean energy, recreational boating, deep-sea mining, aquaculture, and fisheries, can be affected by biofouling and spread aquatic invasive species. And biofouling on ships can also increase hull resistance, resulting in higher fuel consumption and more greenhouse gas emissions. But there is a solution. A global project led by the International Maritime Organization has been set up to tackle this problem head-on. Backed by the Global Environment Facility and the UN Development Programme, IMO's GloFouling Partnerships is bringing together stakeholders from all over the world to develop and share solutions to biofouling. Working closely with pioneering countries, industry, and institutional partners, GloFouling Partnerships will raise awareness, foster research and development, share best practices, including IMO's own biofouling guidelines, and help promote technical solutions. So if you want to help protect biodiversity and be a part of the global solution, see how the GloFouling Partnerships project can help you.
The coronavirus pandemic is real. The Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, Nimasa, wants you to stay safe. Observe social distancing by avoiding crowded areas. Cough or sneeze into a curved elbow or into a tissue, which should be disposed of immediately. Wash your hands regularly with soap or use hand sanitizers. And most importantly, stay at home and follow health and safety advice coming from the NCDC and the WHO. Together, we will win the war against the coronavirus. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, Nimasa. Nimasa, changing the tide in your favor.
The fight against the spread of this global pandemic known as COVID-19 is intense. Well, Nimasa is also part of it. As a matter of fact, the Director General of Nimasa, Dr. Bashir Yusuf Jamo, and his team are very, very able to support the federal government and state governments to fight this global scourge, COVID-19, in Nigeria and, of course, the world.
You know, we are a regulatory agency. So first of all, we understand those areas, the coastal areas that we interface with. The host states, we provided them with our own past intervention vessels. Should there be any outbreak in any of the areas, riverine areas, so we provided 6 past intervention vessels. And then we look at the people, the skill that are trained to man those past intervention vessels. The riverine areas, they may not have skilled workers. So what we did was to sensitize our own staffs so that they can have a role like volunteers to assist also in bringing those patients to the hinterland, and we try as much as possible to kit them with safety PPEs that will ensure their protections when it comes to the contact with those patients. Now, this signifies that 6 past intervention vessels, volunteers, PPEs, we have ventilators, and we have sensitizers. We have a number of it, and we distributed that. In addition to these states, we try to send donations also to the 6 geopolitical zones with the federal capital, which is Abuja.
The coronavirus pandemic is real. Nimasa wants us to stay safe so we can stay alive. Observe social distancing, avoid crowded areas, wash your hands regularly with soap or use alcohol-based hand sanitizers. And most importantly, stay at home. Together, we shall win the war against this coronavirus. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, Nimasa.
Now let's talk about the organizations from the United Nations that have been helping out in terms of directing people based on this COVID-19 pandemic. Well, Nimasa has offered guidelines in support of those agencies like the World Health Organization, WHO, the International Labour Organization, ILO, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, and of course, the International Maritime Organization, IMO.
The first thing we did was to issue marine notice. This marine notice is a standard notice we issued, and it's acceptable by international maritime organizations, and we ask them to strictly adhere to such instructions, and we ban vessels that doesn't have thermal testing equipment in it. So I think as far as that is concerned, we have taken necessary steps to address the issue of foreign crew members interfacing with our own staff in terms of enforcement or any other regulatory functions that the agency tends to interface with the foreign crew members. We have taken a lot of measures internally, which we asked staff to follow strictly the instructions of federal government. You can see before you come to the office, we have to check your temperature, and then we issue so many guidelines on what the staff needs to do. Currently, we don't allow staff to come to office unless only those staff that are on essential duties.
All right, so they have a directive for us to follow in the maritime industry regarding this pandemic. Pursuant to the current coronavirus outbreak, all maritime stakeholders in Nigeria must develop risk assessments and safety intervention guidelines for their personnel and operations on the areas of vulnerabilities of their maritime operations that can be affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, including but not limited to offshore operations such as crew personnel changes, visits from onshore, and other locations for provision of supplies, maintenance and repairs, etc. All ongoing and/or other scheduled offshore operations requiring new crew or crew changes from affected countries shall ensure that pre-departure tests for COVID-19 are conducted on such persons, and self-isolation procedures for the prescribed period are instituted for such new crew personnel before exposure to other personnel. Only international marine vessels which had planned and informed of their call into a Nigerian port not later than 1st February 2020 may be allowed to call on such port. Now, this program has been about COVID-19. It just goes to tell you how serious the matter is. So please wash your hands, please maintain social distancing, and if you're sick, please report to the NCDC. All right, let's talk about the more stringent measures Nimasa is employing to curb the intrusion of ships into our ports without the proper thermal screening instruments. Where a ship will not be allowed into the Nigerian ports. This is what Nimasa is doing. Shipping agent master vessels shall submit all documents related to crew and passengers regarding their travel to and from the COVID-19 affected countries. No sick passengers or crew shall be allowed to board any ship by the shipping agent or master of vessel. All passengers and crew members shall fill the self-reporting form as prescribed by the Nigerian Port Health Authorities. Port health officers shall carry out thermal screenings of all the passengers and crew members on board ship, and until clearance is given by the PHO, no passengers and or crew members shall be allowed ashore. That if any passengers and or crew members show signs or symptoms of the disease, disembarking of such passengers' crew shall not be permitted. That such passengers shall be quarantined on the ship, and samples of the patient shall be collected and sent to designated hospital or lab for testing. If sample is tested positive, the passenger shall be taken to the isolation facility attached to the port, and the ship shall be required to cast off.
The coronavirus pandemic is real. The Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, Nimasa, wants you to stay safe. Observe social distancing by avoiding crowded areas. Cough or sneeze into a curved elbow or into a tissue, which should be disposed of immediately. Wash your hands regularly with soap or use hand sanitizers. And most importantly, stay at home and follow health and safety advice coming from the NCDC and the WHO. Together, we will win the war against the coronavirus. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, Nimasa. Nimasa, changing the tide in your favor.
About a fortnight ago, we introduced you to a doctor from Nimasa who told you about the contributions of Nimasa towards curbing the spread of COVID-19 in Nigeria. Well, he is back again. I'm talking about the chairman of the COVID-19 in-house committee of Nimasa, Dr. Anselm Wanze.
The federal government, in line with the World Health Organization declaring the COVID-19 disease burden as a pandemic, has also responded in an emergent nature. Nimasa, being a responsible citizen of the federal government, has also decided to respond in line with the federal government resolve To this end, we have been able to respond in 3 different planks to assist the federal and state governments in fighting this scourge, because we are also responsible to the citizenry as responsible members of the community. The second one is also in form of a community social responsibility to the location where our head office is situated, that is Apapa and its environs, in addition to other locations where Nimasa has presence. And the third one is the agency's responsibilities to stakeholders. In terms of the community social responsibility, Nimasa will make available 2 of its fire trucks loaded with chemicals and fumigate the whole of Apapa and the environs. The chemicals to be used, the committee has given them the specification of the chemicals to be used so that this fumigation will have a lasting effect. Nimasa has placed orders for some consumables, specifically the N95 face mask. This will be for use by our health workers, who may be the first point of call in case we have any internal sufferer in this agency. In terms of the agency-wide response, Nimasa, as you're all aware, has issued marine notice to vessels that are coming into our waters. We have given, part of the marine notice has to do with their procedures in terms of crew and supply changes to and from the shore. For example, the FPSOs being operated by oil companies in deep waters, we gave them the specifications that when they are doing crew changes, there must be proper examination of those crews. Also, the supplies that they are carrying to these rigs must be subjected to procedural examination so that this infection is not transferred from shore to the rig. Because if it happens there, it can lead to a total shutdown of operation. And of course, this may affect the economy of this country.
This is an announcement from the Office of the Registrar of Ships. As we continue to hope for the best in these trying times, when the whole world is battling with COVID-19, we pledge to continue to play our roles even as we adhere to directives from constituted authorities. To minimize physical contacts, please consider the following alternative channels for your inquiries and follow-up action. Email registrarofships@nimasa.gov.ng. Telephone, WhatsApp 0702 513 7601, Monday to Thursday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., Friday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. All right, ever since the stay-home directive by the federal government, I want to ask you a question. What have you been doing with your time? Well, it's necessary for you not to let it go to waste, because this is the time for you to reflect so that when all this is over, you can start your life again, re-energized. So what have you been doing? Well, I've been studying a new software. As a matter of fact, I'm 66% finished with the software. So if I can do it, any of you can do it. Our good people from Nimasa also offer advice on what you can do to make use and take this advantage and be a better person.
It's a time for us to do an introspection and even discover some other things that we probably, talents we probably never thought we had, some other areas we could explore within our lives, within the family circle, to ensure that we could have something doing. But please let us just engage our time gainfully.
It's a time for bonding, for families to bond. It's a time for fathers and mothers to catch up.
In the night we pray together, in the morning we pray together, we read the Bible, we sing songs. You don't take chances. Stay with your family, bond more.
We can read more, we can exercise, and then we can just have our own personal quiet time.
We have been told that there are sites that we can engage our children because of their education. And for us, the adults, we should have some books that we should be reading.
The coronavirus pandemic is real. Nimasa wants us to stay safe so we can stay alive. Observe social distancing, avoid crowded areas, wash your hands regularly with soap or use alcohol-based hand sanitizers. And most importantly, stay at home. Together, we shall win the war against this coronavirus. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, Nimasa.
Keep busy, keep the thoughts away from your mind so that way you're not filled with fear of what you don't know about.
There are so many things that can gain and teach the family, create more awareness so that they will know. Most of them doesn't even know this. So there are a lot of things to gain during this period. It's a period of even sober reflection for us to look around us and look at this mystery.
The best thing is to play safe while we're at home. Try to bond with our families as well as take some daily exercise to help us.
Everybody should please comply because spreading the virus may not be too good for Nigeria because we have seen what happened in other countries, and all of us need to please support the government to comply and make sure that at least everybody should please come out safe.
Learn to cook, teach the kids, just do what needs to be done to stay home. Let's just keep the curve flat.
You don't lose anything by sitting back at home. A little exercise, if you're really fatigued here and there, will keep you on your toes. You'll be able to relate with your neighbors. You'll be able to retrospect and see another angle to life. And I expect that Nigerians, after these 14 days, will bounce back faster and better and help the government of the day begin to reignite the economy again, to reboot faster for a better Nigeria, a better country, and a better economy.
Introducing the new face of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, Nimasa. We are charting the direction for a maritime and regulating the industry for a better, bigger, and more economically stable Nigeria. Evolved to serve you better. We are Nimasa. New face, rejuvenated service. Nimasa, changing the tides in your favor.
We've come to the end of another episode of Nimasa this week. Before we go, I'd like to tell you that COVID-19 is serious. So please, if you notice any symptoms, please make sure you put a call through to the NCDC and take care of yourself. Wash your hands regularly and don't worry. Together as a nation, we will survive and we will get to that place where we aspire to be, a great nation. Thank you for watching. We'll be back next week if anything happened in 7 days in the maritime industry and in Nigeria and worldwide. We'll be here to tell you about it. My name is Frank on behalf of the crew and Nimasa. Thank you for watching. Good night, good luck. Wash your hands.